Rakuten is pioneering the world's first cloud-native mobile network with integration expertise and cloud lab innovation from Tech Mahindra. Joining me now are Tareq Amin, Chief Technology Officer at Rakuten Mobile Network, and Manish Singh, who is Global Head for Network Cloud Services at Tech Mahindra. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining me.
Thank you.
Tareq, when you sat down with that blank piece of paper to design and architect a new mobile network, what was your wish list and how did you go about balancing the risks of new technology against the potential rewards?
So we had many options of how we build and construct this network, but one of the main motivation driving us is we obviously wanted to achieve a level of operational efficiency and elasticity that has not happened in telecom industry for a while. So if you look at the better past of the decade that we lived in telecom, what really has changed? So the 1G became 2, the 2 became 3, 4 became 5, but the underlying foundation has never changed. So the underlying foundation is still legacy network. When I say legacy, it still have hardware, software tightly coupled. Hardly any of the workloads are being moved to the cloud. And what we've been focused on as an industry is only what I call it the easy parts, which is about virtualization of the core infrastructure. But there's many tenets of this that I think has not been done right. I think the approach that we have taken when I tell you about the dreams that we started with. Firstly, we wanted to build the world first horizontal private cloud infrastructure that is not just only serving the control plane workloads, but also the edge. So on the top of this private cloud, we wanted all the applications that are powering up the network to be virtualized. And when I say all, let's not forget the more complex one is the radio access. So this has been dreamed about, never been realized. And in Rakuten, we took a really very conscious approach that we're going to go and tackle this issue that the industry wanted to address, which is the virtualization in radio. And what I could tell you, what we're really, really happy about, as of February 4th, our network became alive in every aspect that is completely virtualized, 100%. Carrying commercial traffic, including virtualization of radio access. This is the first time that we really industrialize now the virtualization of radio in a live telecom network, not in a lab. So that's a very, very big step for us.
That in itself is only a small part of it, but it's a phenomenal achievement. The industry's been talking about virtualized RAN for some time, but I was going to ask, is it actually at the stage where you can commercialize and rely upon it?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you really ask, I mean, most vendors in around June of last year, the comments that we got, you guys are a bit crazy, this will not work. The software code base is not scalable, you'll have too many issues. But you know what? One thing I will tell you, what is unique and different about Rakuten is really number one is our work culture. Our work culture and organization, all the way from our CEO to the individual employees, individual contributors they think a lot differently. And taking risk, of course, is something we did, but I call it a calculated risk. What we believed in and what we know, that we are a software-centric organization. So Rakuten is a connectivity player. It's a platform player that understood software very well. And to build such a network, I will be really honest with you, it's not trivial and it's not easy for other organizations. I would argue they don't have the skills, the DNA, and the culture that exists in our group. So we knew that issues will happen, but we knew that it could be addressed because that's the nature and the beauty about software. So the radio access, when we launched on 3rd of February, we had many issues, by the way, many issues. But because it is software, fixing, identifying, and isolating problems and rolling out fixes to the problems happen in an agile manner that you would say it is impossible to happen in today's current radio access network. So I am more confident today to tell you that it works, and not only works, it works remarkably well. So we went from not a POC, we're really into hardening the software today with LTO Star, and the performance is impeccable, and it's not in lab, it's commercial, and it's carrying real traffic. So we know what else we have to do together with LTO Star, but we know that we have clarity to meeting our October launch timelines. and deliver on a high quality radio network.
Incredible. Manish, if I can turn to you, what work did Tech Mahindra contribute to getting all this working? And specifically, what have you done with the Cloud Lab?
The most important thing in such an innovative network is to try and get changes faster in the network. So because if you have to get velocity and speed, you need to ensure that you can do those changes without affecting quality. And for that reason, you need to have a state-of-the-art lab that will allow you to ensure those changes happen fast enough. That's why getting things like, for example, continuous integration and continuous deployment, CI/CD, with concepts coming from IT, and putting them on top of telecom networks is key. And that is what we are doing for Rakuten in setting up such a lab, ensuring that we work with all the vendors, all the respective vendors in the VNF domain, in the NFVI domain, in the MANO domain, and ensure they all come together to get that quality in the network. And that's the key thing that we're doing at the moment.
Because it's hard enough doing the hardware and CI/CD you mentioned there. I guess it also involves a cultural shift, and you've got to think differently.
The good news for us, thinking differently is not about reskilling. I mean, that's the part I would tell you if you ask what is our secret. Our secret, again, I emphasize, is the people. And believe me, that is number one factor that is driving our ability to deliver on the results that we have achieved in a record time to deploy such a network. So I think that's something that I feel that we're a bit lucky that the company DNA and culture comes from IT-centric organization. So it makes execution much, much easier for us to implement such a network.
Manish, when we look at the established operators who are transforming their networks, we've spent a number of years implementing SDN or developing NFV to implement, and yet adoption is very slow. Why is this, and how do we move beyond this?
I think there is one bottom line there. Where there is a will, there is a way. And what is happening is that across the globe, there are operators who are actually trying to get there, but they're using old methodologies to get there. And there are operators who are sitting on the fence who are thinking, hey, I want this to mature enough, and then I'm going to jump into there. And also there are operators who are thinking, hey, I'm going to be very, very brave and I'll jump in without realizing what's in there. So there is a mix of those transformations happening. We do have successes happening around, but not to the extent that we see with Rakuten. The speed, the cost, the transformation that's happening. I do believe that we are actually at the cutting edge of technology with Rakuten.
And to implement all this, when you look at your vendor mix and everyone who's in this chain and helping you out, what criteria do you use? Is it more important to have all that legacy expertise, or is fresh thinking, open ecosystem more important?
Yeah, actually, if you participated in our RFP process, I think you would find it very unusual, actually. Because the discussions that we were having with the vendors was not necessarily about technology. We were interviewing them about personality. We wanted to assess who has the right DNA. Because what I believed, at the end of the day, it is people that make products. So if we could find like-minded organizations that are willing to push the envelope and challenge themselves, then we think these are the right vendor partners that should be taking part of this innovation. And in fact, that's what we've done. So we didn't ask, hey, are you complying to all 3GPP specifications? Show me N number of requirements. Our process is remarkably different. We're going after just organizational compatibility first as a main criteria. And I think we made the right vendor choices in building this network.
Does this imply in a way that the future businesses kind of stacked against the incumbent CSPs? It's more the new entrants have a better chance of benefiting simply because they haven't got all that legacy baggage to deal with.
Even new entrants, I would argue not a lot of them probably would have taken the route that we have taken. So it is not given that because you're a greenfield, you must deliver on the innovation that Rakuten is doing. I think, as Manish talked, if there is a will, there is a way. First of all, people always in telecom are hesitant to apply any new technology. It's a conservative culture. The culture is really the problematic statement that exists in the industry we're in. Actually, I would argue, and I would ask you this question, how many innovation or startups that exist in telecom that comes alive? The number of new entrants into this space is very little. It is largely very little because I think the operators themselves are not supporting this incubation of the culture of a startup, the incubation of new innovators that come in telecom. It's been stagnant. So, that's why we invested and supported LTO Star. We want to see such companies come into this mix. We want to see such companies that are powering up radio access to deliver on this innovation. I think we are really missing in the industry we're in. Even if I'm legacy network, meaning I still have legacy workloads to deal with, this idea that because I have existing legacy network, I cannot move to new network architecture, I think is false. It's really an overstated idea that I don't think has merits. I think there are many strategies one could take, to go from legacy to new. It is not just because we're greenfield, we're able to achieve this. I would argue even existing operators, if they apply the same thinking, there is a way for them to move faster and quicker to how new networks should be constructed and built.